Teachers TV have teamed up with the British Association for the Advancement of Science to conduct a nationwide experiment during National Science and Engineering Week in March 2008. Thousands of children are taking part in an online activity and survey set to explore the links between nutrition, exercise and sleep, and children's cognitive functions. There is a growing body of scientific research examining the links between lifestyle and learning. We are going to look at the key findings, as well as showing how a better understanding of brain function is helping teachers in the classroom.
You can already see where there is understanding in neuroscience blossoming that is making contact or could make contact now with what we are doing in the classroom. There is enough knowledge within neuroscience to enhance and develop today's teaching. I would say yes. But it can't be done by taking something off the shelf that the neuroscientists have discovered. There has to be a transfer, if you like. There has to be some system.
Until very recently, there's been, if you like, two separate worlds, the worlds of the cognitive scientist and the world of education. And the one hasn't really spoken much to the other, but increasingly now, over the last year or two, I think people are realizing there's a lot of cross-fertilization and a lot of benefit that can be gained from both sides comparing notes.
Ready to Learn, the experiment, consists of online activities and questions testing the hypothesis that three key factors affect children's readiness to learn: nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Research tells us that the lack of sleep fundamentally affects brain function. Professor Gregory Storrs from the University of Oxford researches the impact of the lack of sleep on school children.
Well, there are all sorts of theories as to why we need sleep, none of them perfectly satisfactory, but from the practical point of view, what's clear that is if you don't sleep well, then you're affected quite badly, or can be, during the day. Basically, sleep has a restorative function. Without sleep, all sorts of things can go wrong. I mean, to an extreme in animal experiments, it's been demonstrated that if, say, rats are kept awake the whole time for a fortnight or so, well, they don't survive. Adolescence is a particularly troublesome time because there's a change in what's called the body clock. Young people of that age require more sleep than perhaps they're used to, so it's a particularly vulnerable time. So educators do need to have more emphasis placed on this topic in their basic training. They'll see the effects of poor sleep in the classroom for sure, because there's a very high proportion of young people who don't sleep well and therefore are affected in terms of their behaviour at school and their performance there. Well, we've begun to talk to schools simply to provide a basic understanding, hopefully, of the importance of sleep, the ways in which poor sleep can be recognised, and give reassurance that help can be provided so that young people can feel much better during the day and perform better at school.
The Ready to Learn experiment will ask key questions about children's sleep, as well as about their diet and exercise patterns. Scientific research is revealing the importance of nutrition and exercise on children's performance in school. Chinham Park Primary in Basingstoke has taken part in a pilot project called Food for the Brain. The 8-month scientific study involved changes in diet and exercise, as well as giving some of the children food supplements.
Steve, are you having tablets or not?
The children's behaviour and academic performance was monitored throughout.
1, 2, 3, back. Watch Georgia, everybody on this side, she's doing it well. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, good. What was exciting about the Food for the Brain project for me was it wasn't just about healthy eating and health and exercise. It was a whole package, a package that involved working with the children and their families. Now that also incorporated carrying out some initial tests to try and create a baseline for the children, looking at their personal happiness, looking at their behaviour, also making some measures of their learning, as we did as teachers, and then 6 months down the line, carrying out those tests again, and then finally at the end of the project, doing a final analysis of those results. And it was quite startling how many children had in fact made progress in a number of areas.
Parents and staff at Chinham have been working with nutritionist Kerry Torrens from the Food for the Brain project. Her aim is to promote awareness of the link between learning, behaviour and nutrition.
There is a significant link between nutrition and how we think, how we behave. For example, our brains are made up of 60% fat, and that's not just any old fat, it's not saturated fat, it's essential fat, and those fats can only be achieved by eating them in the diet. So oily fish, nuts and seeds are absolutely essential for the composition of our brain. And then the brain also uses energy, and it uses 30% of our total energy consumption. So it's really important that we provide sustained energy.
Scientific research into the effects of diet on the brain is also taking place in a number of schools in Swansea. A team from the University of Swansea Psychology Department have been carrying out tests on children's performance and seeing what the relationship is to their diet.
I mean, there's enormous interest in giving the optimal conditions for a child's learning experience. The child's brain is, relative to the rest of the body, is larger than in the adult. It's about 10% of body weight in the child, it's about 2% in the adult. In addition, the brain is more active in the child. I mean, per amount of tissue. So if you take 10 grams of tissue in a child, it'll use twice as much glucose as 10 grams of tissue if it had come from the adult. So, you know, it is a very hungry organ.
Professor Benton's research involved assessing the children's performance in relation to 3 different types of breakfast.
What we did was to design 3 meals that varied in the rate at which it would release energy. They all had the same energy levels. The calories were the kilojoules were the same, but in some they would be released more slowly. And the hypothesis was that the more slowly released energy would have beneficial effects late in the morning.
The children were each given a series of tests after they had been given 3 very different types of breakfasts, varying in range from fast, medium, and slow glucose release foods.
Late in the morning, we gave them a series of tests. A test of memory, the ability to sustain attention, and whether they reacted in a frustrated way when facing a difficult task. We studied the children for a month, and each day they had one of the 3 breakfasts. So, in fact, the information we report comes from children who have had each of the breakfasts at least 3 occasions.
Interestingly, the continental breakfast of ham and cheese and multigrain bread, which is a slow release of glucose, came out on top.
If you have a meal that released the energies slowly, that you had better memory, your increased ability to sustain attention, and you're less likely to become frustrated when faced with a difficult situation. Of course, behaviour in school, as elsewhere, depends on a very wide range of different factors, of which diet is one. So I'd like to see it added to the list.
Back at Chinham, the Food for the Brain study also looked at the effects of food supplements on children's behaviour and academic progress.
Part of the Food for the Brain project also incorporated giving children additional vitamin and fish oil supplements. Now, as you know, these are very expensive items to buy off the shelf, and part of the Food for the Brain project was that this was all provided for free for the children.
There have been some really interesting studies in the application of supplements and improving academic performance, and most of them have shown some change in IQ levels. Now, it's interesting to see that both a multivitamin and mineral and an omega-3 fat can really help support a child's learning ability. For example, omega-3s EPA and DHA are the most active forms of omega-3. EPA can be really beneficial in terms of hyperactivity, so it can improve concentration levels. And DHA is fundamental for the development of the brain. So there's some really interesting research available to support the use of supplements. We saw here at Chinham that even if we were struggling with dietary changes, the fact that the supplements were a consistent part of the children's day really helped show improvement quite rapidly in the study.
Academic achievement has improved. We've seen significant improvement, particularly in English. That has been our key focus within the school, improving reading and writing. And we have seen the last couple of years 14% increase in results.
Whilst the research into the benefits of food supplements shows promise, the science is still at the early stages. There is not yet clear evidence to confirm the impact of supplements on brain function. At Chinham, they were part of a whole school drive to raise academic attainment.
We did see changes in academic performance, and it is something that we want to investigate further. Here at Chinham, we looked at diet, supplements and physical activity, so we incorporated all three of those angles.
The final aspect of the Food for the Brain project included a daily 15-minute progressive program of speed, agility and quickness exercises.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, I think that if we are improving children's hand-eye coordination, then that has a positive impact on handwriting and presentation skills. And we're definitely beginning to see an impact in that aspect of their work. Apart from the fact that children are more settled and able to go into lessons after lunchtime because they've actually had a 10-15-minute structured speed, agility, quickness session.
The latest scientific research into the effects of exercise and fitness on children's learning ability is revealing a much stronger relationship than was previously assumed. Professor Stuart Biddle at Loughborough University researches the impact of physical exercise on school-aged children, looking at motivational and emotional benefits, as well as improvements in brain function.
All right guys, keep going. There is a literature that's looked at the relationship between exercise, if you like, possibly physical fitness as well, although exercise and physical fitness are not perfectly related, and how the brain functions. We usually refer to that as cognitive functioning or brain functioning. And the literature with children suggests that if children are fitter or are more active, they perhaps do have a benefit in enhanced memory. So the brain may actually be in better shape, if you like, to do these tasks, or they feel better about themselves, they're more relaxed and more confident to operate in a classroom environment. The parts of the brain that are involved in memory or in terms of alertness might be due to blood flow in the brain, are enhanced after exercise and in fitter people. And therefore that might be an explanation as to why these children could do better in the classroom.